Thank you for having me. I'll give you a quick tour of the Velas Panorama in Los Angeles. We are located near downtown, beautiful LA. It's a project I began in the year 2000, and since 2004, we make our home in the Union Theater. Panorama, this is a word we've been using a lot, and I like to point out that panorama, as classically defined, is a visual and immersive interface that was originally patented. Yes, an analog thing, but Robert Barker in 1787 made a patent for a description of displaying views of nature. This was his rotunda building in Leicester Square, the first permanent panoramic building in the world. And there was another man, Robert Fulton, who made a patent, but this is just to point out the underlying technology in this type of interface. So Velas Panorama debuted in the year 2000. Our first panorama was the panorama of the Valley of the Smokes. We've had 3 other major panoramas. And if you came to visit us today, you'd experience Shenzhen Panorama. We use the interface of a dark hallway, down an even darker hallway, up a circular staircase, where the visitor finds themselves on a viewing platform, which allows for a horizon expanse of landscape. But as described in the patent, there is an umbrella overhang which prevents you from seeing the edge of the painting. And this is our panorama as it looks today in 2025, and this 19th century engraving shows that similar setup. An important feature of the classical panorama is the faux terrain. So when you look over the ledge, and here we're in a 90-foot circumference space, this 3-dimensional terrain blends the 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, extending the feeling of illusion and bringing this kind of spectral immersion to life. The subject is the city of Shenyang, China, 100 years ago. And in this exhibit, which was a collaboration with artists from Northeast China, we're kind of building a chosen sister relationship between Los Angeles and Shenyang. And a few other underlying themes about this project is connecting the way that many 19th century technologies transformed time and space, which technology always does. It's kind of giving a surrealistic blend to these 2 chosen cities. And I'd like to point out the 3 master artists who created this. And while the Shenzhen Panorama is the only one of their 360 works on display outside of China, they are a major driving force towards classical style panoramas that have been made since 1989 in mainland China. The grand opening was held for Shenzhen Panorama in 2019, and here we are in the Union Theater, which is the current home of the Velas Panorama, and the oldest purpose-built cinema hall in Los Angeles, still dedicated to the moving image. So in addition to our anchoring panorama, we have changing exhibitions. We do film in residence series. We have interjections, like for the film Unrequited Love from 2006. We specifically invited folks to text and email during the screening because it resonates with this theme of the film. We had a lobby exhibit of cell phones from that time period. And so while we're anchoring ourselves in this kind of heritage style of panorama making, we're riffing a lot on technology and interface. We have a garden where we sometimes have dinner parties and other ways of kind of digesting a simulated landscape. And amazingly, this is the 25th year anniversary of this project. So when I began this experiment on Hollywood Boulevard, I thought it was something that would last for about 6 months. And here we are treading water 25 years later. Embedding a lot of the historic research and even typography and broadside references has always been key for the Velas Panorama empire. And really, this was in part started because I had a chance encounter with an abandoned building, which I fixed it up a little bit, but this looks very much like a 19th century panorama rotunda, even though it was purpose built for a Chinese takeout restaurant in 1968. And how many of you know that not far from here, there were panorama rotundas in San Francisco? So there are two known, at least one on the corner of Mason and Eddy Street, which showed the Battle of Waterloo in 1886. And this building on the left, that was near 10th and Market Street, and that showed the storming of Missionary Ridge. I've known a lot about panoramas and first encountered the wonderful Terapixel project because of my connection with the International Panorama Council. And we also have an ongoing series called Immersive Research Sessions, which just several months ago, some of the team from the Terapixel project came and discussed this with our group in Los Angeles. So we hope that you'll come visit us someday in LA, and I'm just really glad to be here for this insightful discussion.
Sara, I would like to ask you, what do we learn about cultural memory when we bring back a form and not just its image so people can experience it again?
I think doing this creates like an interesting feedback loop and a way of thinking about, time and culture and memory in ways that are present now. Like it doesn't have to be that this past is over here and we're here and the future's there. Like these things are much more fluid and go together. And while the role of technology changes with new innovation, it doesn't mean that something is, old or irrelevant. Its role just might change a bit. So we've heard this story before where when photography is invented, then this idea of like, well, painting is dead. No one's going to paint anymore. Of course, that's not true. It's just that maybe the role of the medium changes and shifts. And so by continuing to experience these forms, it's not only a way of sort of preserving history, but showing that a tool or an interface still has something to add and bring insight.
Thank you so much. That's super interesting. I learned about panoramas and everything just by studying the Terapixel Panorama. So I'm very excited to have Sara Kenderdine giving us a couple more insights before we go experience it all together.